You're listening to an Ono Media podcast.
Good morning, and thanks for joining me for Rise in Crime, your morning caffeine hit all about crime. I'm Mama Jules, and let's start today with a perplexing story out of Illinois that has an 18-year-old dead in the middle of the road and two sheriff's employees who don't do much to help him. Okay, we've got to go back to July 28th of this year, when two employees of the Mount Carroll County Sheriff's Office, so a man and a woman, found 18-year-old Jackson Cradle in the roadway. So let's clean up what we're going to call these employees because their names have yet to be released. The man, who we'll just call John, like John Doe, well, he's an off-duty dispatcher. And the woman, who we can call Jane, is a paramedic. Now, their jobs are key here. John knows how to give instructions to callers about CPR and about how EMS is going to be arriving. At a minimum, he should know how procedures in emergencies work. And Jane, well, come on, she's a paramedic. Now, if these two came upon a body in the middle of a rural county road, it would almost be like Jackson couldn't have had a better set of people find him, right? Well, maybe not in this situation. Because last week, the "hey, we have an issue here" call was released, and we have a better understanding of how all of this went down. At about 3:30 a.m. on July 28th, John uses the non-emergency line to the Carroll County Sheriff's Office. He reports that he and Jane had found a body on Illinois Route 78. This was just north of downtown Mount Carroll. Okay, here, I want you to listen to the call to that non-emergency line.
Carroll County Sheriff's Office.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, so we just dropped off at home, and we were headed up 78, and there's a body laying in the road just north of Mount Carroll on 78.
What's the intersection?
It's just north. It's right before Loudon Road.
Before Loudon Road?
Yeah.
Like a deer?
No, it's a body.
Like a person?
Yeah.
Okay, did you guys stop?
Well, we stopped to check on it, and I'm calling you, yes.
Okay.
Does Mount Carroll have a car on?
Yeah.
All right. We'll wait for him to get there.
Is it breathing?
No.
You said it's by Loudon Road?
It's south of Loudon Road. Are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah.
I'm
can you hear
dispatching.
me?
Yes, I'm dispatching to it.
Okay.
Is it male, female?
It's a male.
Is he cold?
Is it cold? No.
Are you guys going to do CPR?
Said he's got blood and brain matter coming out of his ear.
They're both en route.
All right.
Does he have any ID on him or anything like that?
I don't know yet.
Okay.
All right.
Alright, call me back if anything changes.
Now, I have concerns about John and almost his urgency to get off of that call, but I'm trying to not make any judgment. Not yet, anyway. Now, that call was almost 3 minutes long, and we know it came in at about 3:30 a.m. But another call was made, possibly by Jane, maybe by John, at somewhere around 3:32 a.m. And that call went to Sheriff Ryan Cloping. He takes a call that lasts about 2 minutes. Now, it's not recorded, obviously, it's to his phone. We just know it occurred. So the sheriff is awakened at exactly the same time that the body is being responded to. At 3:33, the county dispatch announces over the broadcast radio service that the employees, Jane and John, are part of a call that a body has been reported at Highway 78 and Loudon Road. Then, at 3:40 a.m., the county dispatch gets another call on the non-emergency line. This time, it's from the Illinois State Police asking if the county needs any assistance. Here, go ahead and listen to that call.
Carroll County Sheriff's Office.
Hey, it's Myra. I hear you have a crash.
No, I was just about to call you. I was just about to click on your number. I don't think it's a 1050. They didn't say it was a 1050. They just said it was actually an off-duty deputy that called it in. He just said there's a deceased male in the roadway with brain matter and blood coming out of his ears. They requested, they're going to shut down the highway, and they requested crime scene.
Okay, you said with brain matter and blood coming out of his ears?
Yes, and he's not breathing. They said I asked him if he's cold, and they said he's not cold yet.
Okay, where is this at?
It is Illinois Route 78, just south of Loudon Road, just north of Mount Carroll.
Okay, you want me to send you a trooper?
Yeah, I just talked to State Car 179, and he said that
he's talking to you. Why is he having me talk to you?
he said he was getting in contact. He made it sound like there was 2 cars on. He said one of us will be en route, possibly.
Yep, I have 2 if you want both of them. I can send you both of them.
Where are they at? I mean, I'm honestly not even, positive what's going on, but at least one of them would be great.
I have one, well, it looks like they're both just south of Sterling. They'd be coming from Sterling.
We only have one deputy on, and they want to shut down the highway, so at least one of them would be.
Okay, I'll send you. I'll send you both. It's fine.
Okay. It's 179 and what?
It'd be 179, 178, and you said Illinois 78, just north of Mount Carroll. What's that cross street?
Loudon Road, L. Lincoln, O. Ocean, W. William, D. David, E. Edward, and Nora.
All right, and you got the fire department, EMS, and all that stuff, right?
We do not. They said it was going to be code 0, and they wanted crime scene.
Okay. Did you need the phone number for Springfield, or you got that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you need the phone number for Springfield, or do you already have it?
That would be great.
Now, I didn't play the entirety of that call because the tail end of the call kind of has just phone numbers or car numbers in it, so it's not relevant to the story. But did you catch that they aren't sending an ambulance? They're just going to shut down the road. And here's my issue. They said the body was still warm. It's the middle of the night. Shouldn't we try everything? Now, the 2 employees who allegedly rolled up on this guy, they're not attempting CPR, and the state police aren't contacted for about 8 minutes from the initial phone call. And we have 1 county squad car headed en route with 2 employees who just aren't saying much. Jane and John are just kind of being mum here. Then at 3:52, the same state dispatcher calls the local dispatcher back, and she verifies something. She wants to make sure no EMS is on the scene. Here, go ahead and give that call a listen.
Carroll County Sheriff's Office.
Hey, it's Myra again with State.
Hi.
Hey, so I have both of them going. They just got on, well, actually they're on Illinois 40, maybe miles north of Sterling now. So they'll be there soon. But, with the guy being deceased, you guys don't send EMS out there to confirm that the guy's dead since they're medical people?
A paramedic is on scene.
Got him on scene? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have an official. I mean, I asked them if they wanted me to contact the coroner. They told me no. They never told me to dispatch, but...
Really? You don't think the guy's dead? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I can ask them if they want me to dispatch them.
Nah, I was just thinking just now, I'm like,
I asked them, it's a dispatcher and a deputy that found them. The dispatcher's a paramedic. I asked them if they were going to start CPR. They told me no.
Is that...
No, it's,
I don't know her. Alright, well, they're en route for you, girl. I sent you 2 of them.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. How long is it going to take the 2 state troopers to get there? Probably 25 minutes-ish. At least that's according to Google Maps. So what have we got going on here? We've got Jane and John discovering the body of Jackson Cradle. We then have somewhat questionable phone calls. Then later, we find out from Sheriff Cloping that an on-duty deputy and a city officer were the next 2 to arrive at the scene. This is the middle of the night. What's a city officer doing being called to the scene? And there's not a clarification of what this city officer is. Is it a police officer? Is it somebody who works at the city? There is no clarification. Okay, it could possibly be another dispatcher. I don't know. It's some sort of city employee. Now, the sheriff, in a media release, said that when those 2 other city-paid employees arrived, okay, remember, we've got the 4 employees on hand. We've got Jane and John, and now we have the 2 city employees. Well, when those 2 other city employees arrived, they were told that John and Jane were released to leave. They were the ones who found Jackson. They're the ones with all of the information. Yet they're just told they can go on home? And that on-duty deputy, well, he's now on the scene, and his camera in his squad car is not working. So we have no video of this event. Now, Sheriff Cloping also said in that media release that the coroner was called at 5:14 a.m. Okay, that's almost 2 hours later, and maybe that's standard procedure in this county. I'm just making sure I give you all the details of the timeline that we have at this point. Now, the next morning, Jane and John were notified by Sheriff Cloping that they were both subjects of an internal investigation. They were also placed on administrative leave pending the results of that investigation. Now, this might be the first time in the story where I'm finally saying, that makes sense. That's the obvious thing to do here. And because I know you're asking, it's the Illinois State Police conducting that independent investigation. Again, this is another moment where I'm kind of like, okay, I'm grateful. This is an outside agency with hopefully objective intent. Now, in the email that was sent to the employees, Jane and John, it is clear that they may be terminated pending the results of the investigation. The email also states what they are being investigated for, specifically 4 things. First, violations of Illinois Vehicle Code relating to the death of Jackson Cradle. Second, violations of Illinois compiled statutes that relate to the death of Jackson Cradle. Third, unbecoming conduct, or conduct that reflects negatively on the department. And 4, conduct which reflects discredit upon the officers as a member of Mount Carroll County Sheriff's Office, or conduct that impairs the operation or efficiency of the department or a deputy. Okay, it's a mouthful there, but these are good standards that they're reviewing. And again, this for me is exactly what should be happening in this moment. If they didn't do anything wrong, if Jane and John are clear here, then they should go back to work, but there needs to be an investigation. Well, in that email the employees received sometime during the day of July 28th, they were notified that they would have 48 hours to consult with a union representative, and then on July 31st, they would begin the interrogation of Jane and John. Well, on the morning of the 31st, Jane and John resigned from their positions, and it was effective immediately. That had me going, wow. What are they trying to hide? I don't know. We're still breaking down this story. So all of that was happening on the 31st. Then, on August 5th, Illinois State Police Special Agent Matt Kipping informs media and the public that they now have a person of interest in Jackson Cradle's case. But they clarify that they will not be making the name known, at least not yet. Now, it's about this time when TV6 starts submitting all of their FOIA requests to get those non-emergent 911 calls and also to get those emails, the ones that I have referenced in this story. Now, TV6 truly did the work here, and we should be grateful for strong journalists who locally do this kind of work to help their community members. But one thing TV6 discovered through all of it is that the FOIA requests were, they weren't really being stonewalled. They were being, I was going to say nitpicked, but I don't think that's the word either. Basically, the department was only going to give exactly what TV6 requested. So at first, they gave all the emergency 911 calls from that night. But we know that Jane and John used the non-emergency line to call in about Jackson. So then TV6 made another request. It still wasn't complied with. And then they made a third request with far more detailed concepts, specifically the non-emergency line calls from that morning, internal emails about Jane and John, and then logs of calls going to Sheriff Cloping's phone. All of this took place through October. And then on November 6th, we got this information. That's a long time. Jackson died on July 28th. For me, being transparent doesn't seem to be one of Mount Carroll County's strong points. Now, TV6, they continued their strong work, and on November 8th, they held a brief discussion with the Illinois State Police Department. The state police declined to answer if Jane and John were suspects in the investigation into Jackson's death. Then last week, the coroner did finally release the cause of death for Jackson Cradle. It was determined to be blunt trauma to the head due to a motor vehicle versus pedestrian crash. Now, the manner of death, it's still not identified. Jackson's father had exactly the response you would expect when he finally heard the non-emergency calls that I played for you, the ones that TV6 got via those FOIA requests. He said the following: "It's very shocking. I'm shocked they didn't call 911. I'm shocked that an ambulance wasn't called. I mean, if they just rolled up on there and he's still warm, why wouldn't you at least try to get him help?" And then when the phone calls were played for Jackson's mother, she said the whole thing was mind-boggling. She wondered aloud how they couldn't realize they needed to call the right people to come. She then said they didn't even bother to try to help him. Now, both of Jackson's parents expressed their gratitude for the work done by the local journalists. They believe they have a better chance of receiving justice for their son due to the coverage that Jackson's case is getting. They also said they've had very little conversation with Mount Carroll County Sheriff's Office. Now, an inquest has been scheduled for December 13th, this to help determine the manner of death of Jackson. I'll let you know more when that inquest is completed. But right now, let's remember Jackson, because in all of this, he seems to be lost. Jackson played baseball from the time that he was a toddler. It was his sport of choice, and he was a big Chicago Cubs fan. Growing up, he would spend hours on his grandfather's farm helping with chores. When he loved a task, he did it well. His obituary states that he would meticulously wash dishes, but choose to never really pick up a broom. He had an interest in auto mechanics and brick masonry, and he would often gather scrap metal to turn into the recycling center in order to get some gas money. He had just begun learning to play the guitar, and he left behind 3 siblings. I'll be watching this one for you. We have a lot of unanswered questions. And now, this story out of California, where the Department of Insurance is laying bare the extreme measures that people will take to commit fraud. The department released a video this week of an outdoor surveillance camera capturing what the homeowner said was a bear opening the passenger door to a Rolls-Royce. The video shows a bear, which looks more like a human in a bear suit, rummaging through the front seats and then on the dashboard of the car before climbing through the front seats to the back seats and causing havoc there. Okay, for me, the biggest tell is how long the back legs of the bear, or the pretend bear, are. And then also, the bum of the bear, it's just not big enough. Bears have big bums, and this bear does not. Okay, here's how the Department of Insurance became involved. A private insurance company submitted the video for the DFI to review because they felt like the video was suspicious. The supposed bear attack happened in Lake Arrowhead on January 28th of this year. The owner that filed the claim said they had video proof of the bear opening the passenger door and damaging the interior of the Rolls-Royce, and then the bear just leaves the car. Now, the still photos taken by the owners, well, it shows puncture marks to the seats. But there's issues here. The puncture marks are in a straight line. Bear claws are not in a straight line. They're curved, kind of just like our hands. And the puncture marks, they're also evenly spaced, which also doesn't match the claws of a bear. Now, the DFI agreed that this was sketchy, so they started their investigation into the potential insurance fraud, and they found 2 additional insurance claims with 2 other private insurance companies for the exact same video, the same Lake Arrowhead address, and the same set of specifics. Now, these DFI employees are thorough, if anything, because they took that video and they shared it with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, asking for an official opinion if the bear in the Rolls-Royce was in fact a bear. Well, Fish and Wildlife, they agreed. That video was not a bear. They secured a warrant, and what appears to be a home in LA was searched. In that home, they found a bear suit and also meat shredders that were used to damage the vehicle, this trying to mimic the claws of a bear. Well, following the search, the authorities arrested 26-year-old Ruben Tamrazian, 39-year-old Ararat Shurkinian, 32-year-old Vahi Murad Kanyan, and 39-year-old Alfaya Zuckerman. Okay, what's the chance that I was even close with pronouncing those correctly? I'm going to give myself a 4 out of 10. I don't even get a D+ on this, but those are the guys that they arrested. So once they did more digging, they found that the men had also submitted claims for damage done by a bear on a 2015 Mercedes G63 AMG and a 2022 Mercedes E350. In total, the insurance companies involved were allegedly defrauded for over $140,000. Okay, I'll link the video footage shared by the DFI in the social media post so you can watch it if you want to. Look, I'll give it to these guys. They're from Los Angeles. At least they were smart enough to stage the bear attack in a place that does have bears that tip over garbage cans and sometimes raid outdoor refrigerators and maybe like push the lid off of a hot tub and get in it. And the 4 guys, the ones I couldn't pronounce their names, well, their court dates, they haven't been posted yet since the arrest happened just 4 days ago. And let's finish today by covering this story that I really haven't been following, but I just couldn't resist looking into. First off, my daughter Marley has asked me to watch Gossip Girl. It's like one of her favorites. I haven't yet, but here's what's up with actress Chantel Banks from that series. Okay, she's safe and appears to be ready to share her story that completely contradicts what her family has been saying. On November 8th, Chantel Banks' family reported her missing to police, saying they hadn't heard from the 36-year-old actress for 2 weeks. By November 11th, the police had located Chantel in Texas. And Chantel had said she absolutely wasn't missing and that she had left on her own volition. Okay, but there's a backstory here apparently. But first, let's get to what Chantel wrote on her Instagram account after she was contacted by police in Texas. The post reads, "My name is Chantel Banks. I'm a 36-year-old American nobody. And for my entire life, I have been silently carrying the pain of the ritual, of abuse, of manipulation, and outright endless torment I've endured continuously since I was a defenseless baby at the hands of my own so-called family, whom are also very, quote, concerned about my current whereabouts." She then went on to write that she had gone to Texas to get baptized by her favorite pastor and that this trip had finally made her free. Yep, I'm sure there's a backstory here. So let's get into it. Back 4 days prior to this Instagram post, Chanel's cousin Danielle Tori Singh started a GoFundMe page stating that Chantel hadn't been heard from since October 30th. Danielle wrote that she had flown from Canada to Los Angeles to help her aunt search for the missing actress. Danielle even did interviews. She told KABC in Los Angeles that Chantel would never go more than 48 hours without contacting family, especially without contacting her mother. Now, since the Instagram post and the confirmation by the Los Angeles Police Department that Chantel was found in Texas, Danielle is speaking with the media again, saying that the woman she saw did not look like her cousin. Danielle said the information was fake news and that her cousin is still missing. She alleges that the woman the police found in Texas was actually in possession of an expired New York identification card, and that was not her cousin. She claimed the woman was much skinnier than Chantel and that she was wearing clothes that her cousin would not typically wear. She also said that her voice was different than Chanel's. Then Chanel's mother told the media that the woman she saw was not her daughter, saying, "I know what my daughter looks like." Well, following that media blitz, the Los Angeles Times said they conducted an interview with a woman they believe to be Chantel. And she is saying that she is perfectly fine and that she needed to distance herself from her family. That woman also told the Times that Danielle and her mother were lying to the news media. She says she has verified her identity with numerous police agencies. Also, LAPD officer David Coulier, well, he said the following about the case. "I can't control what the family is saying, but for our purposes, Chantel was found on November 11th in Texas. She's an adult. If she wants to be in Texas, she has a right to be there." All right, so GoFundMe, they took down the page raising money for her search on the 12th. So that was 1 day after police had confirmed that they had found Chantel. And that money in that GoFundMe account Well, it's being held by the company pending a review by their trust and safety team. Also, during the media blitz by Danielle, she said that Chanel's husband, Carlos Jimenez, has not been cooperative with the family. Well, the Los Angeles Times, they obtained text messages between Carlos and Danielle. And Carlos is giving Danielle the runaround in these text messages. He's saying Chanel was in their LA apartment, but when police conducted a wellness check, she wasn't there. He also said her ear pods were pinging in Texas. And then there's the back and forth between Carlos and Danielle, where Carlos is telling Danielle that Chanel is just fine. And the police are involved, and Danielle says back that the police have told her that Chanel is not fine. Well, the LA Times got a hold of Carlos, and he said in an interview that the reason he stonewalled police was because Chanel asked him to, and that she wanted to keep her whereabouts private. Now, Carlos is backing up Chanel's portion of the story that police did speak with her face-to-face in Texas. But it's not sunshine and unicorns with Chanel and Carlos. He denies that he is part of the abuse by the family, but Chanel has blocked all communication now with Carlos. And another thing that isn't adding up, Carlos told the Times that despite what Danielle said, Chanel actually only occasionally spoke with her family. It wasn't as frequent as she claimed, and Chanel did verify that Carlos has not harmed her, but that she's not speaking with him. All right, so with all of that backstory, Chanel is going public today on True Crime News in an interview where she shares why she is distancing herself from her family. In that True Crime News episode, she disputes the timeline of when she left LA. She says the family is wrong and that she has only been gone just a few days. She said that her mother was unaware that she was preparing to leave the control of her family and that she thinks that she was, quote, bamboozled when she left. Now, Chanel said in the episode that she had tried to escape before, but she just wasn't successful on the other times. She also said it's not the first time her mother has sent the cops after her. Chanel said if she refuses to answer the numerous phone calls from her mother, then her mother will send someone looking for her. She also states in the interview that she doesn't have a relationship with Danielle and that it is definitely not sister-sister like Danielle has claimed. Okay, I think there's so much more on the back end of this, but to be honest, this is a true crime podcast, and the only crime right now that I am seeing is that the GoFundMe account might be a total sham, and all that money just needs to go back to whomever donated it. Now, there could be crimes in the abuse, but Chanel hasn't given evidence or proof of that yet. Maybe she has it, and we're just not being told. But as of this recording, there is no crime there either, other than just some claims. And Carlos and Chanel, you guys, they don't have to talk. Listen, there's whacked out marriages all over the place, and these two can define their marriage however they choose. I'll just watch to see if more information is shared, and I'll just keep you guys updated. And now to some of the messages and comments we received on last week's episodes. It seems like you guys are liking me sharing these, so I'll continue. And regarding the case out of Wisconsin, the death in a kayaker, the guy who faked his drowning death, this so he could run off to Uzbekistan to meet up with another woman. Well, let's see here. At Kelly Hunsaker, well, she wrote, I think some people forget that there is something called divorce. You guys, she wasn't the only one to share this sentiment. Basically, people were saying, just get a divorce. Why torture your 3 kids like that? And then another account, Lisa Hopner 6440. She saw the video of a man that appears to be the Wisconsin kayaker saying he wanted an answer to his question of whether or not he should leave his family and move to Uzbekistan. All right, Lisa, I saw the exact same video too. It apparently was released or at least discovered on the day the episode dropped. Okay, it's always a challenge to bring you guys the latest crime news when I have a day of production that happens between recording and dropping of an episode. I have an awesome producer, by the way. He's so good. Shout out to Jesus. Anyway, the video, it sure seems to be him. And it's kind of creepy if it is him, because he's being so, I don't know, kind of nonchalant. He's acting so just dismissive about this decision. Like deciding if he should leave his family is like deciding if he should have tacos or pizza for dinner. So that was weird. And then in that episode, I asked you guys if you felt good about the Delphi murder verdict. And most people in the comments, they agreed that he's probably guilty. So Melissa Ridner, 8857, she said she lives near Delphi and that most people are happy with the verdict. But then there was Alexis Stone 2345. She brought up a valid point though. She said this, basically she doesn't know if he's guilty or innocent, but she feels like the investigation was shady, and that shady investigation has festered doubt in the community. All right. There still is people who think that maybe he's not guilty. Now, to the many people asking for a Native American case, I researched and wrote that case on Friday. I'll be sharing that case on the Monday after Thanksgiving, since I'm traveling for the holiday and I needed to record earlier than a typical schedule. So you can get that one on that Monday. You guys, it is a good one. And it's heartbreaking and also sort of revealing about the culture that women endure on a reservation. And then this, Chanel 2121, thanks for listening from New Zealand. Okay, and I have one final one from an Instagram post. This one, Megan Doc _Perrine. She says, I still can't believe you've only had Chipotle 2 times. Where I live in Ohio, there's basically one on every corner. Okay, let me kind of explain the area here. There is a Chipotle about a half hour from where I live, but there's no reason for me to go north that way. You're headed up into like West Yellowstone country if you go that direction. So I'm never headed that way to eat at that Chipotle. And then I have a fairly, it's a mid-sized city. If you combine the 3 cities that all kind of bump up next to each other, it's about 100,000 people where I live. So we do definitely have a population in my area that could support a Chipotle. There just hasn't been one brought in yet. So franchise owners, hey, bring one my way. I'll eat more often. All right, that's your Monday episode of Rise and Crime. You guys, thanks so much for joining me here. I love my listeners. I love the comments that you're leaving. And please, thank you. I've gotten a few more reviews and positive comments on the platforms where you listen. That really helps this podcast grow. And you can join me again on Thursday for more morning crime news. I'm Mama Jules, and keep safe out there.